Alright, today we're going to be looking at this vinyl cutter. It is a Craft Tech Craft Robo Pro. So we're going to be making a t-shirt today. To get started, we have to make sure that we're using the t-shirt type of material. In this case, I use a product called Easy Weed. And it comes in a box. It kind of looks like that. Okay, in this case, this is the color silver. We're not going to be using silver for a demonstration. We're going to be using white because I have a lot of it. All right, let's pretend for a second that the actual material was not in the machine, and I can show you how to change that material out. First off, there's a lever right here. If I pull it down, I can take that material right out. There are these little wheels. Okay, they look like this. They fit on the back of the machine and rest on the floor. So you'll see one in place and you'll know where they go. Let's take this sheet, rest them on the wheels, and we're going to start feeding it into the machine. Okay, just like that. Now, let me kind of show you here. There's a little wheel right here, and there's a little wheel right here. Okay, and let me try to zoom in on those little wheels. And you can see them right there, that wheel. So the idea here is to get the material under both wheels and still have it aligned with the front. Okay. Line that up. Just like that. So you can see I have that under that wheel. Just like that, and also aligned with the front. Alright, then I can click this lever back into place. Alright, well, by then, the actual machine is going to say, press enter, roll 2, press enter. So, here's enter. Now, there's a needle right here. It's kind of like a sewing machine if you really think about it, but it's an X-Acto knife that points down. But the needle does stick out. What I like to do is press this back a little bit, just so the material is laying underneath the needle. Make sure also it's kind of lined up with the front of this little box. That'll give you enough just to be safe. You do not want this needle touching this area right here without paper because it will dull it, and the needle is very expensive. Okay, once you're done, there's a button called Set Origin. Press that, and that'll just state this is the beginning of the roll at the front of the paper. I don't want to go over that. That's where I'm going to start. Alright, well, now that that's set up, what do we do? Well, we launch Illustrator. In this case, I'm going to be using CS5. And I got to set up a new scenario here. I'm going to do it in inches. It's a good thing to know that this paper right here is 14 inches one way, and then linearly it could be up to 50 feet. So in this case, my width is going to be set to 14 inches. And I'm going to set the height to 10 inches. And that will vary depending on what you want as a graphic on your shirt. Alright, in my humble opinion, the hardest thing is actually text because it requires a couple more steps. So we're going to look at text first. I'm going to take the text tool, drag it out. Oh, zombies. ate fast food. Why not make it a shirt that I can wear, right? All right, I'm going to up the count on that. Center it. And what I like to do is, let's see, does that look better? Zombies hate fast food? Or does it all need to be one line? Think about it, how it's going to rest on your shirt. So, I like this a little bit better. Also, I like to bold things out. The thicker the letters are, the easier this will become. Though when making shirts, you can get quite detailed on things. Okay, so I'm just finding a point. That's not bad. And now I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. And make my text a little bit bigger. That's pretty good. Now that I know what I'm going to actually put on the shirt, I can tone down my artboard a little bit. I can do this by going into File, Document Setup, Edit Artboards. I can then click and drag this dot up and this one down. But I do not want to change the width of it because the width is 14. That's right. So click the arrow. And there we go. Zombies hate fast food. Well, if I go into View Outline, this thing it looks like a solid chunk, and it is. It is a solid chunk of matter. What I need is the actual cut lines. And to produce these things, I'm going to go back to Preview and do a couple tricks. One, I'm going to go to Object, and maybe that. Oh, click on it first. There we go. Object, Rasterize, and I'm going to choose 300 dots per inch, or pixels per inch. Once this is done, it's going to ask me, do I want to live trace it? Now, if that doesn't show up, you can just click off anything, click back on it, and it should show up. I'm going to hit live trace. I'm going to hit OK. Not much. Looks like it changed. Okay. I'm going to off click on it again, and hit expand. All right. Now, if you go to View Outline, you're going to see that it looks a lot different this time. It looks like lines, and these are cut paths. This is exactly what you need. Now, whether you want to leave this outside line is up to you. I find it a little bit easier to leave it. That way, I can peel it off quite a bit easier. The one thing that you got to know about printing words is they need to be backwards. So, transform, reflect. And I want to reflect this vertically. So no matter what the graphic is, as long as you live trace it and follow the exact same steps, it should turn out quite well. Text has a little bit different workflow to it because you have to rasterize it first before you live trace it. With any other picture, you just have to live trace it. Alright, now that we got this done, we can go into File, Cutting Master 2, Cut and Plot. Alright, and it should look exactly something like this. Okay, notice that it doesn't tile up any more than it needs to. It's set to 14 inches. And this might need to be adjusted, but since I adjusted my artboard, it shouldn't. Also, if I want to technically make it bigger, I can. Notice, however, it says something previous here. It doesn't say zombies hate fast food, it says something like, I don't know, some student made this. So I'm going to hit done. Oftentimes this will do this. You have to quit out of the software if that happens to you. So now we'll go back into Cutting Master 2, cut and plot. And you'll see it looks a lot different, like huge mess up different. Well, that's because the size needs to be changed. And as you see, when I'm doing this, as I make it a little bit taller, it's starting to pan out quite well. Okay. Right there is where it needs to be. I'm going to reduce the product size to 100% where it needs to go. And the job size got torqued a little bit, so 14 inches. And this matches. So what I'm saying here is use common sense. This is a really good preview. Make sure it stands true to the preview as the product that you have developed. In this case, I could shrink it down just a little bit. I can scoot it to the center. And if you want it bigger than this, I can quickly hit done. It'll keep that setting. And if you want it any bigger, you're going to have to get rid of this box. To do that, because I want to carry all scenarios here, we click on it and go ungroup. Off click anywhere, click on the box in this area. Go back to preview for a sec. And hit delete. Notice now it shrunk it to the exact settings of your artboard. When I go back to Cutting Master, Cut and Plot, I have a better representation of the product, and I can make it technically bigger. So there's a lot of freedom here in this area. If you find that you've developed the product and you want it technically bigger, you can do that after the fact if you want to. I like to minimize usage of the vinyl, get it to about like there. I can hand jog this over by just clicking and dragging. To me, that looks correct. Okay, that's what you need to do, is look and see if it's correct via the preview. And then when you're done, let's hit send and see what it looks like when it cuts. In the next video, after it gets done cutting, we'll cut it off the roll and then peel it away from the paper. Alright, once the cutter is done, what's going to happen is it never does quite stop where it needs to. So if you look at the letters here, well, you're not going to be able to see those letters too much on the video, but I can see that zombie is clear up here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is jog this down using the arrow and then jog it up just above that letter. Then grab a very sharp X-Acto knife, put it in this groove, drag it across inside that groove. Depending if you're right or left-handed. There we go. That's a little better. Alright, so what we have now is this. You can take this and you can peel it just a little bit. And then peel it off. This probably takes the longest because you have to be very kind of patient with it, depending on how detailed you get too. Now if you think about it, if you had like a huge amount of detail lines in here, you're going to be peeling this off all day long. And what I generally do is just kind of get it, all the bigger pieces out of the way. You can be kind of rough with it. It's not that delicate. And then I'm going to have to go in with an X-Acto knife and peel off all the inside parts, like the center of this E. So this is going to take me some time, and to watch me do this would probably be pretty boring. So that's what I got to do, is start peeling off these little pieces. And when I'm done, we'll make a shirt. So, zombies hate fast food. Continue in part 2.